Okay, so let's just start talking about Java streams right now. So what is basically Stream API does in Java and why this is introduced and how it works, the internals, the features, the advantages, disadvantages, everything we'll discuss. So to get started with Stream API, to get into it and to understand what it does actually, first you analyze the word stream. Okay, so when you hear this word stream, what do you think about it? Well, if you're gonna ask me like what I think about stream, maybe I can say I think about a beautiful fountain where the water is keep flowing through. Or maybe I can think about a stream of water going in a pipeline. Maybe my kitchen water tap, where when I open the water tap, the continuous water keeps on flowing over there. But when we talk about Java, right, we don't have any water flowing here, right? Stream means basically some continuous flow of water or something. But in Java, we don't have any water keep flowing through our application, isn't it? So why do we need the Stream API? Well, in Java, we don't have water flowing through, but we have data flowing through in our application. In our application, a tons of data keeps on flowing through and we have to handle those data anyway, right? So basically, the Stream API is going to help you the way you process those data which keeps flowing through in your application. Well, you might have a question that, okay, this Stream API of Vilas, this came in Java 1.8 version. So don't you think before 1.8 version, we were not developing Java application where the data were keep flowing through? And obviously the answer is yes. We also used to have Java application, solid, rock steady application before Java 1.8 version also, when Stream API was not there. But the way we used to handle data before Java 8 has been significantly changed right now when the Stream API has first introduced in Java, maybe in Java 1.8 version. The Stream API basically creates a kind of revolution in the way we write Java code. The Stream API is clean, sweet, and very readable code we can write using the Stream API. Unlike the older Java version, the way we used to write code, the Stream API basically changed it. The way we see the code, the way we read the code, and the way we write the code. Okay, so it's very important to understand Stream API to process the data in your application. And before we speak a lot about it, let's just get started. Let's just get started with this topic. Let's just try to understand Stream API with some example first. Let's just see what it actually does. Alright, so let's just get into the Stream API right now and let's just try to explore it and let's just get our hands dirty by writing some code. But before we write any kind of code which is related to Stream API, as I said, the Stream API will help you to set up a kind of pipeline to process the data. Well, this might be a too complicated line to understand right now, but I'll assure you that this will make sense in some time. Okay, let's just try to understand it in this way. The Stream API will help you to process the data. This thing you can understand, right? You have a bunch of data and the Stream API will help you to process it. Okay. Now, before we start processing the data using Stream API over here, let's just try to generate some data. Like, how can we generate data in Java and where can we store data in Java? Obviously, we can have a lot of different data structure, like we can store data in arrays, we can store data in collections, and then we can get data from those data structures and can process it. We'll get into that again, but let's just try to do something very simple right now. We'll just try to generate some data. I do not want to involve collections or arrays right now here. to store data. Rather, I'm gonna take a help of a kind of method which is going to help me to generate some data. Okay, and that method name is called generate. So I'm going to be using a method called generate here. Okay, I'll be using a method called generate, and this method is from the Stream API. So the Stream API itself has a method called generate, as you can see on the screen right now. And this method called generate will help me to generate a bunch of data. Okay, let me just use this generate method right now. Generate method will help me right now to generate infinity number of data. But what kind of data we want to generate? We want to generate integer or string kind of data or float kind of data or double kind of data. What kind of data? Okay. Well, let's say I want this generate method to help me generate a bunch of string. Let's say hello world, or let's say hello stream, or something like that. For an example, I'll tell this generate method that, hey generate method, generate something kind of a string called hello stream. Okay, let's say we are learning stream, and just generate something called hello stream or something like that. Okay, but you can see, like, this is giving me an error over here. This generate method right now will not generate something called hello stream. Why? Because if you're going to see the input it is taking right now inside the generate method parenthesis, it takes a kind of supplier. Okay, so using this supplier interface, I'll be able to supply data to the generate method, and the generate method will keep on generating those data. Okay, so the supplier, some supplier logic I will be specifying over here. So I will create a kind of supplier, and I want to supply some kind of string kind of data, and I will be defining a supplier over here, and I will be defining the supplier over here right now. Okay, I'll make sure this variables are same, right? I'll create a kind of supplier and we'll put it over here. Well, this supplier will right now supply the kind of data to the generate, and the generate will keep on generating those kind of data that the supplier is going to provide. Now the supplier is basically an functional interface. Okay, and the functional interface does have a method here called get. Okay, every functional interface has one abstract method, and the supplier interface has one abstract method called get. And this get method is always going to get me some data. This get method does not take anything in the parameter, but it always going to return me something. Let's say I'm saying the supplier, the type I'm defining here string, the get method is always going to return me a string back. Okay, so let's just try to implement the method of supplier, which is get right here. So I will come over here, I will just create a new supplier object here. But as you guys know, I won't be able to create the object of new supplier like this. Okay, why? Because this is an interface and I cannot create the object of interface in Java. So I can implement the abstract method that the supplier has, which is the get method, and I can get it overridden right over here. Okay, so now here to the get method, I'll say, okay, get method, always return me a string called, let's say, hello stream, because I'm learning stream, so I'm going to say hello stream. Okay, something like this. And I'm going to keep this supplier reference over here. Now this generate method will always going to get the data from this supplier, and the supplier get method is always going to return me a string, which is hello stream. Okay, now if you're going to see right now, I can understand that the generate method is going to be generate me a string called hello stream all the time. As I said, the generate method will help you to create an infinite stream. What I mean by that? So the generate method is going to generate what kind of data right now? Hello stream. Hello stream is what kind of data? It's a string kind of data, right? So if you're going to handle the return type of the generate right now, if you're going to do option command V, you can see what the generate method is returning. Okay, the generate method is right now going to return a stream of string. Okay, let me just write over here a stream of strings. Okay, so what I mean by stream of string, what I mean by that. Okay, so we will understand this in the next 5 minutes, step by step. Just understand the return type right now is stream of string. Okay, now I told you one thing, the generate method is going to generate you what? A string called hello stream. The generate method again will generate infinity number of string right now. It will generate hello stream, hello stream, hello stream, hello stream, hello stream. It will be keep on generating this string. Okay, and we're going to be wrapping it off over here with a stream of string. So what I mean by stream of string, okay, so understand in this way. I'll just create a kind of pictorial representation for this. So we have the generate method. The generate method is going to generate a string called hello stream. Okay, and I said the generate method is going to return a stream of string. What I mean by that? The generate method is going to return a stream. So when I say stream, as I said, when I say stream, you understand something like it's a pipeline where the data will be processed. Now the generate method will generate the data. What kind of data? String data, right? What string? Called hello stream. And that data will be processed. Processed through what? Processed through a stream. Stream means what? It's a pipeline. So you understand the generate will right now will have it will set up a kind of pipeline here. You can think like this blue part is a pipeline. And the generate method will be keep on generating the data called hello stream. It's a string kind of data. It can be an integer, it can be a float, a double, or whatever. Now this data will be keep on flowing through this pipe. Okay, this pipe is what we are calling a stream. Let's say the generate method will always going to create a string object called hello stream, because the generate method basically create an infinite stream. It's going to keep on creating the hello stream object and keep on processing it with the help of this belt that you are saying, or the pipe that you are saying. So this is a kind of data pipe where our object will be processed through this pipe. Okay, so I think this makes sense. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, so we have a stream of strings. Okay, so I'm gonna copy this and put this reference over here. So this is a stream object. This stream object is going to get me one string all the time. Okay, and this string object will be hello stream, and I am going to catch each string object from this stream, the stream of strings, right? From this stream object, right? I'm gonna capture each object which is coming through the stream, and then I'm gonna do something with it. So I'm gonna utilize a method called foreach method. So for each object that is coming through this stream that we have set up here, now I'm gonna consume it, and let's say I'm gonna print it out. Okay, what kind of object which is coming through this pipeline right now. I'm gonna catch those objects. I'm gonna catch each of those objects, and I'm gonna be processing it using a for each loop. Okay, using a for each method. I'm sorry, it's not a loop, it's a method. Now this for each method is going to help me right now to consume the object this guy is producing. I have the generate method, and now the generate method is generating an object called hello stream. Now once this comes down through the pipeline, I am going to set off a kind of a method called foreach, which is going to capture the object which is coming through the pipeline, which is coming through the stream pipeline. And for an example, I'm just going to print it like this. Each object which is coming through the pipeline, I'm going to print it. Like the foreach method is going to talk to the generate method that do you have any other object? The generate method say, okay, I'm an infinite stream. The data will be keep on flowing like this. So foreach method will say, okay, I'm going to print it out. Like the foreach method is again going to check with the generate method. Do you have any other object? The generate method will again say, I told you, right? I'm an infinite stream. I'm going to keep giving you an object every time you're going to ask me. The foreach method, the job of the foreach method right now will say, we're just going to consume that object, that that is coming through the generate method, and we're just going to print it. Like that, the generate method is always going to generate a kind of string, and let's say the foreach method is going to work with each object right over here. And imagine the foreach method job is right now, it's just going to print each object to the console. Okay, let's just write that logic right now. So I have the foreach method, which is going to take one string out of this stream of strings object which are coming through the pipeline, and now the foreach method, let's say, is going to consume those objects, and let's just going to be printing it to the console. So if you're going to hover on this foreach, it basically takes a consumer in the parameter. So what basically a consumer means is basically going to help you to consume the data, right? So the foreach method, for the foreach method, we're going to write a consumer logic here. Okay, now let's just try to implement the consumer logic. As I said, the foreach method is going to take the object from the stream of strings and gonna consume it. And we don't want to do anything else while consuming it. We just want to print it to the console. So for the consumer, let's just copy and put it over here, and we're going to be defining some logic over here. So we're going to be consume the message which is coming through, or the data which is coming through. The foreach method, we are acting on this object stream of strings, and the stream of strings, I know each time a string is going to come through that pipeline. So the consumer is going to consuming the string kind of object, right? And I'm going to be creating the implementation for the consumer. Okay, and again, I can just do new consumer. And by the way, you cannot create the object of the consumer like this, because the consumer is basically, again, a functional interface. It has one method, one abstract method. In as I said, the functional interface means it will have one method, an abstract method called accept. And the accept method does what? Is basically takes an parameter and is going to do something with it. It doesn't return anything. The previous one that we have seen in the other case, the supplier method takes nothing, but always going to return something. Because that's why it is a supplier. The get method is always going to supply you a string. But in the consumer case, the consumer is only going to consume. So the accept method is always going to consume some object, right? T means it's any kind of object. It's always going to accept it. Then you can do anything with the object. And in this case, with each incoming string object through our stream pipeline, we just want to consume it and print it to the console. So we're going to be consuming it right over here using this accept method. So let's just close it. And this is a foreach. We are defining our consumer here, and we cannot create the object of the consumer like this. So we have to, implement the unimplemented method over here called accept like this. And here goes our accept method. So I'm going to consume a string over here. Why I'm consuming the string? Because I have defined the type here as string for our consumer, because the foreach is acting upon the stream of string, where the string kind of data we are getting because of the generate method is always going to generate a string object, because that's what the supplier is returning over here called hello stream. We are just trying to capture this hello stream object and put it in our console. So let's just go back to our consumer again. This is our accept method. We're going to be accepting the string, and we're going to be just printing it out. So I'm going to say printing the string, okay, and just do plus str, and that's it. We are done with our first stream API program, and that's the number of lines of the code that we have written. Pretty simple. The generate method is always going to generate a string called hello stream. Okay, so the generate method is going to return you a stream of string. Okay, it's going to set up a pipeline where always string objects are going to be passed in, and the foreach method is going to consume each string object and use this consumer logic over here, which is basically accepting the string object and printing it over here to the console. Okay, let's just try to run this. And I think you are going to get a never-ending stream over here. you can see it's going to keep on printing hello stream, hello stream, hello stream over here, and it's going to keep on printing the string called hello stream right over here. And as I said, the reason why it is happening, because the generate method is basically generate method here is always going to generate a string here called hello stream, and it's a never ending stream. The object will be keep on coming in the pipeline. I hope this makes sense. I'll just give you another example right now. So I'll go to my project. I'll create another Java class. Okay, and this time, let's say I will create another class called test2. And now imagine inside this test2 I have a main method. Let me minimize this, close this. Okay, I have a main method, and this time instead of using the generate method to create some data, I will use another method. The stream have another static method inside the stream interface. By the way, the stream is an interface. Inside the stream interface, we also have a method called of. Using this of, you can also generate a stream. You can also create a stream. But this is not going to be an infinite stream. So let's say we're going to be setting up some data like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or something. Okay, so we're just setting off a stream over here. So this of method right now has this much of integer object placed in. Now, if you see the of method return type, the op method right now is going to return you a stream of objects, right? Stream of t. The t can be anything. Here we are specifying the numbers over here, the integers over here. So if I'll do a command option B, you can see it is just getting me an integer stream. Okay, but this is not an infinite stream. So you can think something like the of method is right now setting up a pipeline for you where the integer kind of data will be flowing inside that pipeline. Okay, the stream of integers will be keep on flowing through that pipeline, right? So it is just going to give you a stream of integer, right? So the integer stream, okay? But it is the of method is not going to generate a infinite stream for you. It is only going to have inside that pipe, these are the objects will be keep on flowing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 till 9. Okay, so let's just try to process those objects again. I'm going to say integer stream, and then I'm going to process each integer object which will be flowing through that pipeline. I'm going to say integer stream dot for each object which is going to come. This, you can think like the stream over here, the integer stream over here is going to kind of iterate right now over each of this object. Now one is going to come, will be given to the foreach method. Now the foreach method can write a consumer to process that object. Okay, so let's say I'm going to write a consumer over here. Let's say the consumer, again the consumer, I'm going to process integer kind of object, and I'm going to say a consumer here, and I'm going to create a new consumer of integer, and I can basically override the method that the consumer interface has called accept, and I'm going to accept an integer over here and keep on printing that integer. I'm going to print the integer over here. I can say integer obj and integer obj. Okay, now if you're gonna run this code, now I'm putting this consumer over here. Now if I'm gonna run this code, if I'm gonna run this, you just see like the data over here. Sorry, which method I'm running. Okay, I have to run this main method. So right click, run this guy, and there you go. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so just see this couple of line of code. The stream of, this is kind of the source, right, which has the data right now. We're going to be having a pipeline for this data, and we are kind of iterating through each data right now, and through the consumer, with the help of the consumer, we're accepting the data and printing it over here. Okay, so I think this is pretty straightforward. To see this diagram right now, this will be pretty much understandable. We have the source, we have the destination. Here is the stream pipeline. This pipeline is set up because the of method return type is stream of integers. So inside this pipeline, we'll have the integers, the data keep on flowing. And once the data will keep on flowing through the pipeline, once it's reached the destination, we're going to be having a kind of for each to print each number which is flowing through the pipeline, just like this. Let's say we have one, okay, from the stream of we have this many data. So these are our source. So the source is all this data. So one number right now keep on flowing through the pipeline. Let's say one will keep on flowing like this. Now the foreach method is going to print it to the console. Okay, now one will be printed to the console. Now stream is just going to keep on iterating over all your source and will be keep on keep on passing one number like this. Number two, it will keep on flowing, goes like this, and we're going to be printing it to the console. Now number three, then it will be keep on flowing through the pipeline, goes to the destination. The foreach method is just going to print it to the console. Okay, this is how the stream is helping you to iterate over the source that you have, and one object from this will be keep on flowing through the pipeline, and you are basically printing it. Pretty straightforward, right? Okay, right now I'm gonna give you some happy feelings. Okay, imagine you got some time from your busy schedule and you have applied for some leave in your office, and your leave has been granted, and right now you are on a vacation mode. You are planning to go to your hometown. Okay, so you have landed on the airport, you have dropped your baggages, and you boarded into the aircraft. You landed in your destination airport right now, and before you come out of the airport, you need to claim your baggages. So the first thing that you need to do right now, you have to go back to the airport baggage claim area, and you have to claim your baggages. Okay, so what basically the airlines does, they basically unload all the passengers' baggages like this that you see on your screen right now. Imagine these are all the passengers who were traveling with you, and these are all their baggages. Okay, looking into this, you think this is you imagine this is like a source. This has a lot of data. Imagine these baggages are kind of data that you have, right? Imagine in Java, if you're going to imagine this scenario, I can think for a data structure like an array or an array list or some kind of collection which basically containing all my bag objects inside it. So in Java, when you are talking about Stream API, in order to perform some operation in the Stream API, you first need to connect to the source. Imagine this in a container that we have where this guy is keeping all the bags right now. Treat all the bags as some objects, and this container is some kind of a source or a collection or some data structure where all these objects are right now placed in. Now from this, you basically can open a stream or a pipeline just like this. Now just come back to the normal scenario right now. Think normally how these baggages can be claimed by the owner, right? Pretty simple. So imagine this baggage right now will go through a belt. Okay, just like this, one by one, something like this, and you will be standing on the other end, will claim your baggage, will pick the baggage out of this belt, right? Now you imagine this belt where the baggages are getting processed one by one is basically what the Stream API does. Stream API is basically processing the data, processing the baggages one by one, right? So you imagine this belt that you have where the baggages are rolling through. This belt is what the Stream API in Java, right, is helping you to process the data through a pipeline, right? So the same example that we went through right now, if I'll go back to our IntelliJ, so here the Stream.of, this is basically setting up a source, right? This is basically storing this object somewhere, maybe inside a collection or somewhere. I don't know like where this op method internally is storing the data, but the important thing is what? It is setting up a stream of integers for you. It is opening up a pipeline for you, right, where this integer object will be processed one by one, and you can capture them. You can capture each of the object right now. It's just like a iteration you basically do with a for each loop in Java, something like that. But if you think about the real for each loop is basically the stream. The stream is going to basically process each element one by one. Then let's say this integer stream is first going to get you 1, then you have to find that 1, then you have to basically use this consumer to print it, something like this. Okay, it's going to be very easy after some time. Just let me just show you some use cases and you'll feel really comfortable with it. So just see this situation right now. This op method right now is going to set off a kind of stream. Okay, the stream is some kind of a pipeline. It's going to return you a stream of integer where one integer will be passes through this stream. Okay, so for an example, first the 1 is the first object inside this up method that will be processed through this stream pipeline like this. But in the destination right over here, we have a for each which is going to consume this 1 and going to print it. Now again, here the op method will right now get me the number 2. The for each method is basically going to check with the op method, do you have any more objects to be processed? Now the op method will say, okay, I have another object here too, I'm giving it to you. The for each method is going to consume it and going to put it over here, right? So again, the for each method is going to check, hey of, do you have any more objects within you? Now it is going to say, okay, I have another one, let's say 3. Now it is going to be consumed by the for each method. Again, the for each method is going to check with the of. The of again will basically get the next object and then process it. So the stream API, basically the stream, when I say you treat it like a for each loop, is going to give you the object one by one from the off through the pipeline. And this for each right now is going to acting upon every object which is coming through it and basically consuming it and printing it to the console in this case. I hope this makes sense. So this animation we have just seen like how the data are getting processed one by one. It is going to the source, from the source to the destination. So when we basically say a stream of integers is basically some bunch of integers like this flowing through this pipeline. Okay, imagine in real time the data will be processed like this. Okay, so think like this. It's a belt where each object is going through the belt, and in the destination, the for each is basically consuming each of this number and going to print it to the console. I hope this makes a little bit of sense. We're gonna dig more deeper, but just stay tuned. Okay, before we go to the next concept right now, and we will keep learning right now, but we're going to be taking a pause right now and we're going to be doing some modification to our code. We are not going to write any new lines of code right now. We're just going to modify the couple of programs that we have created. Okay, first of all, here, in this stage 2 program, we have written around 18 lines of code. So let's just try to modify it a little bit and let's just try to make it more cleaner and more readable. Okay, and Stream API is famous for that because it is going to help us to write readable code. Okay, and we don't have to write any boilerplate code or any duplicate code right over here. Let's just see how. So the op method is basically giving us an integer stream, and on top of what we are basically writing our for each method in order to iterate each object from the stream and basically consuming it. So the first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to removing this integer stream over here. I'm going to take this foreach to the first line only, okay, to here, to the same line. And right now the foreach method does not return anything, it returns void. So I can get rid of the integer stream. I do not need to handle the return type right now because I'm chaining the foreach method with the of method. The of method is right now going to generate the stream, and using the foreach method right over here, I can consume it using my consumer logic. Now the next improvisation I can do over here, this consumer, as I said, this is a functional interface, right? It has only one abstract method called void accept. Okay, this is the abstract method that we have implemented on the test2 class right over here, right here. So instead of doing this, instead of creating another object for this and assigning it over here, I can basically copy this part, okay, Control X, and put it over here inside the foreach directly. And I can remove my consumer declaration right over here. We can also improvise it more because this foreach method right now is takes a consumer. Okay, if I can hover on this, the foreach method takes a consumer, and we are defining our consumer over here. But the main logic we have defined here inside the accept. Okay, but this is this is kind of the old way of coding, right? So if I want to override the accept method, then give the logic over here. But this thing we can improvise using Lambda, right? This consumer is a functional interface, so we can convert this much of code into Lambda and can make it really shorter. The kind of thing this accept method does right now is just prints the integer object right over here. Each integer which is coming through the pipeline, the foreach method is basically trying to accept the integer and trying to print it over here. Okay, so right now, if I'm gonna convert this piece of code to Lambda, it's going to be very simple. This is my accept method, which takes a integer parameter. So in Lambda, I do not need to write the method name because my compiler is smart enough to guess that the consumer interface has already a method called accept. It knows that you are calling the accept method. So you don't have to call it by its name. You don't need to write the method return type. You don't have to define public or private or whatever. You can remove the override. You can remove the class declaration, everything. Till this, you can just delete it, okay? And you can also delete the close curly brace over here as well. And in between this parameter and this brace right now, I can give the Lambda symbol, and right now I can make it even more shorter, right? And even more I can improvise it. You can see inside my foreach method, this is the kind of code that I'm writing. The first thing I can improvise it right now here, this line that I have, I can take it to one line, something like this. I can take it to one line like this. I can take this to one line. I can take this to one line like this. Okay, pretty simple. And right now, if it is one line of code, I really don't need to write this curly brace. Okay, so I can remove the curly brace and I can remove this thing as well. So this pretty much even more better, right? And as you know, in Lambda, we also don't have to define the type of the object over here. I know the Stream.of method is basically having a bunch of integers, and the Stream.of method is basically returning me a stream of integers, right? So obviously the foreach method is going to get is basically an integer. The foreach method is going to get 1, then it is going to accept 1, and it's going to print this thing over here. It's going to accept 2, then it has to accept 2 over here, then you have to print it over here as well. So the foreach method is always going to get an integer because the of method is always going to return an integer kind of object, right? So you actually don't have to define the integer specifically over here. You just define the variable name over here. The Java compiler is smart enough to know the foreach method is accepting an integer object. This is the variable name, and printing it over here. It knows the type of object that you are accepting over here because the foreach method is acting on top of the of method. Obviously this is containing integers only, so obviously you're going to be getting the integer objects. No one need to define it separately over here. And if it is only one parameter that you have, then you can also remove the brace for this. Okay, Pretty much straightforward. Okay, so I think this is it. This is how we have shortened the things. So one takeaway that you got to understand over here, the foreach method is a method which presents inside the Stream API. So if you're going to go to the Stream API, if you're going to scroll through the methods that it has, if you're going to go, I think a little bit down, I think somewhere you're going to be getting the foreach method. So the foreach method is part of Stream API so that you are able to chain it over here. So this is what we are saying, a stream pipeline we are creating over here. Whatever this op method is returning a pipeline, and I'm connecting the foreach method along with it. I'm chaining with it. Okay, so this is the first thing that you have to understand, and I think this is pretty straightforward, isn't it? So you have to learn Lambda. You need to understand if you are feeling confused with this, that means you are very weak in Lambda. So you have to learn Lambda first, then you have to learn Stream API, because in the Stream API, the Stream API methods like foreach methods uses Lambda very heavily. So the method like foreach, you can see we are working with Lambdas over here. Just like that, the methods that the Stream API has, you can see is always takes a predicate or a function or toInt function, toLong function, and all these things are Lambda only. So if I'll go into this, see all these things are functional interface, so we can create Lambda out of the functional interface. So to deal with Stream API related methods like foreach method, you need to understand Lambda, and you have to learn it as a prerequisite. Okay, so we have done a great job here. So before we go to the next topic, guys, can you just try doing the same thing in the other program that you have written over here? So we have done some similar things here as well. So we have the generate method, which is generating a stream of strings. Then we are consuming each object from the stream of strings and printing it over here. So now here we are just writing some traditional code, and I just want you to minimize it and convert all these things to Lambdas, because the consumer thing can convert it to Lambda. The supplier thing can also be converted to a Lambda. Okay, so I have already told you how to convert the consumer things to Lambda. So you can basically remove everything till the name of the method, and you can remove it like this. You can also remove the extra brace from here, and then you can put a Lambda sign over here for the consumer, and you can keep everything to the first to one line like this for the consumer, and then you can remove the curly brace from this, as I have told you before, and you can also remove the the parameter of the method as well. And this is how you can convert a consumer, the one that we used to have before. We have converted the style of coding, that we have changed it to Lambda. Okay, so even we don't have to declare it, and we don't have to pass it over here. As I have told you before, you can basically take this string directly from here, Control X, and put it over here. Okay, so that's looking good. And just like that, the generate method is going to also take a supplier. The supplier is also a functional interface. So now what you can do, let's say I'm gonna cut this much of thing, Control X, and put it over here, and I'm gonna modify it. I'm gonna remove the supplier stuff over here. So as I said, this is the method of the supplier. The method name is get. Obviously it doesn't take anything over here, so I can remove till the new keyword. I can just get rid of that. I can get rid of the extra curly brace, and then I can give a Lambda sign over here. Okay, so this basically takes no input and always gives you a string back in written. So this is only one line of code, so take it to the first line like this, and also take here. And obviously, as I said, if it is one line of code, you don't need to write this brace over here, and obviously you don't also have to write the return thing over here as well. So you can remove the return and the open brace, and it can also delete the close parenthesis. So what it does mean that this method does not take anything, but always going to return this string. So after lambda, whatever you are writing, this means this function here is going to return this string over here. Okay, so this is it. So we have simplified the thing, and we can also chain this thing as I have told you guys before. So you can just take the foreach and you can chain it with this guy, and obviously the foreach doesn't return anything, so you can get rid of the return type, and that's it. So your previous program looks something similar to this. So all the 20-25 lines of code, you have reduced it to a couple of lines like this. Okay, pretty straightforward. The generate method keeps on generating hello stream, and the foreach method is going to keep taking those string and gonna keep printing it over here to the console. Pretty straightforward. So now you learned like how to create a source of stream, and how to basically set up the stream pipeline with it, right? You have learned to create some stream using the generate method. You also have learned the same using the of method as well over here. So we are basically generating a number of integers over here using the of method. So like that, this is an assignment for you. Go ahead and create a bunch of string using the of method. Like you take bunch of names here, Avilash, Abhishek, Dilip, Rakesh, something like a bunch of name over here, and try to iterate over it and print it over here just the way that we have done over here. So that's an assignment. Try doing it. But before we switch to a different concept, what I want you to do, I want you to create another Java class. Let's just write test3, and in this class, let's just try to create a stream or set up a stream out of a collection, which is one of the the most used use cases in Java Stream APIs. For example, imagine we have a class called, let's say, student over here. Okay, so inside the student class, let's say we have few property of the student. Let's say private int student ID, private string student name, and private let's say private int mobile number. Okay, and private string student name, private int mobile number, and let's say private int h. Okay, private. Okay, let's say there are some properties of the student, and imagine this is some kind of pojo that I'm trying to create, and I just want to create a bunch of student object, and I just want to put it inside some kind of list. So this is why I have created a student class, so that I can keep on creating the student object over here, and I can add it to a list kind of thing. Okay, so this is my goal. I just want a bunch of student object which is there inside a list, right? So let's just complete our student class. First of all, let's just create a constructor to initialize all these things that we have over here, all these properties that we have over here. And let's just do a command and create a bunch of getters and setter for each variable that we have over here in order to access the data and in order to set the data, right? And also, whenever I'll be printing the student reference, I also want the content to be printed, not a address, right? That's why I also want to generate the toString method over here as well. So that's pretty much about my student class. So right now what I'm going to do, I'll go back to my test3 method. Imagine in my test3 method right now, I'll be creating a bunch of student object like student Vilash is equal to new student, and I'll be giving the property like the ID is 1, the name is Vilash P. Okay, and let's say the mobile number is 987654 something. Okay, and then the age, let's say the age of Avilash is, let's say, I should hide my age, let's say 32. Okay, so let's say this is one object like that. Let me keep creating a few more objects right over here. Okay, so I have a bunch of students. Now what I want to do, I want to create an array list, and I want to add all the students. So I can create an array list and manually add the object using the add method of the list. All these objects I can add it to a array list, or I can directly use the Java 9 arrays.ageList method. So I can do arrays.ageList, and I can put Avilash here, Jatin here, Rakesh here, and now this ageList method is going to return me a list back. Okay, so you can see the ageList method is returning me a list of T, and this time the T is like this object belongs to the type student. So if I'm going to do a option command V, it is going to get me a list of student. What I'm going to say is student list. Okay, now imagine I have a bunch of student inside this student list. Now I want to process them, okay, and I want to print each of the student details into my console. So how can I do that? Well, you can write a for each loop, and you can iterate each student out of this list one by one, and you can print it to the console. That's the traditional way, but this time what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a stream out of this list. As I said, the stream is going to set up a kind of pipeline and will process each object out of this list one by one. Let's say first of Vilas, then Jatin, then Rakesh. So to set up a stream pipeline, first of all, we need to have a source. So using this collection right now, this collection does have the data. So it is the source. So out of this collection, this list interface have a method called stream, and this stream method is going to get you a stream of a stream of this object. So if you're gonna do command option V, and if you're gonna handle the return type, you can see whenever you put stream over here on top of the list object, it is going to get you a stream of student, right? So as I said, stream means it's going to process one object in that pipeline, right? So right now we have the pipeline set up. So we have the stream of students right now. Imagine that pipeline, that this stream method is right now set up for you, where each object will be processed one after another. So I'm going to say stream, let's say I'm going to say stream dot for each, and I'm going to take each student. Okay, I'm going to take each student, I'm going to consume each student. The for each method is going to accept a consumer. The consumer has a method called accept, which takes a parameter of any type. I'm going to take a student type of parameter, student type of object I'm going to accept, because the for each method is applied over the stream, which is carrying a stream of students. So the data which will be coming is going to be of student type. So I'm going to take each student here and I'm going to print it out. So I'm going to say s out and student right over here. Okay, let's just do a control S. Let's just run this. Okay, which application I'm running? I'm running the previous one, is printing 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So let's just print this one, and I'm sure I'm going to print each student that I have over here. You can see these are the details of the student. Make sure to override the toString so that these values will be displayed over here. Now we have created a stream. We have set up a stream out of a collection. Okay, the stream is not a data structure. Okay, the stream is not storing the data by itself. The stream is just setting up the pipeline. It's just creating the pipeline. Here stream has been created out of the collection. The collection is the actual data structure which stores all my students. But using the stream, I set up a kind of pipeline where the data has been processed one after another, right? And I'm going to be doing whatever with those data by consuming it using the for each loop. And also I can chain it out as I have told you. So I can basically remove this return type, and I can just do for each over here. So I can just do this. Okay, so that's it. So I don't have to write any for each loop explicitly right now. Rather, this for each method that I'm calling, it does everything behind the scene, right? So pretty straightforward, pretty readable code, and I'm actually minimizing the old way of writing code. Okay, you don't think so? Because in the old way, I might have used a for loop like this in order to iterate every object out of this list. I have to handle the type of object this for loop will have. Then I have to do a sort of student. This is the old way of doing the thing. This is the new way of doing the thing, like new way of printing the objects from a list, right? But I think this is pretty straightforward. You may not completely satisfied so far, like, why I should have to do things right like this. You will completely understand this. You're going to keep seeing the benefit out of it, but stay with me. Okay, we're going to be talking about it pretty much in detail.